When I was 11 years old, I began to have a peculiar feeling that I wanted to appear as a girl. It was very strange, weird. It was an urge, a kind of obsession. I didn't know what to do about it. This was in the beginning of the 1950s. I knew immediately that this is a forbidden thought and you can't talk to anyone about it. So I had to handle it myself in a way, and I couldn't. I even remember that I was convinced I was mad and the rest of the world was normal. It was that bad. I had feelings of otherness, shame, guilt. It weighed on me like a heavy stone. I tried to shut it off by being good at school, good in sports, being a good scout, even concentrating on my stamp collection, I remember. I was an 11-year-old boy. It didn't help, of course. I felt alienated and bewildered. I fairly early met my girlfriend, who was later to become my wife. And when I was 16 and she was 14, I told her. She couldn't understand it either, of course, but at least she knew. A trouble shared is a trouble halved. But it continued to be a trouble throughout our relationship. We married in 1961, and at that time, even before the glorious 68, I mean, you are so young, you can't imagine what the mentality in Sweden was. We agreed we couldn't tell anybody about that. The scandal, the social scandal was, well, we couldn't bear it. So we had to share it as a secret between the two of us. It had its ups and downs, and it actually also brought us more closely together. But it was troublesome. My wife accepted that this was part of me, although she regretted that I had it, and so did I. During the last 10 years of the life of my wife, there was this kind of a silver lining to that cloud, because she could make fun of me for it. And when you can laugh at things, they are not so dangerous anymore. But in 2007, she died from her cancer, that terrible thing. We have heard about it earlier today. And I was alone. That is, we have a daughter, but she lives in another part of the country, and she had to leave and go home. 3 small kids, job, and things like that. So I remember I was alone. Everybody was so kind to me, of course, neighbors. I remember one day in the street I met a couple, neighbors. It must have been on a Sunday afternoon. They were going to have dinner at a local restaurant, and they said, "You must join us. You must come with us, because you can't be alone now." No. I did so, and I remember how kind, how gentle, how, what nice way they went about the thing. And it was moving. I will never forget that. But now I was alone with my transgenderism again. After a year or so, I began thinking of coming out. I couldn't bear it, being alone anymore. To get a fuller experience of what it is to be transgendered. That thought had actually intrigued me for decades. My wife and I have talked about me coming out when she wasn't there anymore. So I needn't have any pangs of conscience for that. There wasn't a break with my whole life. It was just a new phase in it. I remember her saying, "When I'm gone, you will certainly come out, of course, but try to look properly, and don't make a fool of yourself if you can help it." And she was a wonderful person. So, to come out, I went to London, because my great plan was if I cause a scandal, I just return home. We are all covered. You should know what this is. And I got every help at a dressing service, and Jo, an elderly woman, was my coach for a whole day. At the end of the day, she said, "Well, Angelica, you look good enough. You can go to your museums and galleries as Angelica if you like." And then I was Angelica for 11 days in London. Also shopping, clubbing, dancing, meeting other transgendered. Nothing really happened. Of course, I was nervous because first days of coming out felt like coming from another planet or jumping from the springboard 10 meters above water, these things. But nothing actually happened. So when I came home to Gothenburg, my self-confidence was up there, and it has been since. So on returning, I decided I must expand this sphere where I can be Angelica outside my house. And I'm going to share with you some of the important moments of that coming out process. First time as, because the first time is the most challenging one and the most difficult one, and you can't understand how nervous one can be. Early one morning, the doorbell rang. I was standing in the hall trying a garment in front of the long mirror down there. I opened the door a little and said, "Who is it?" "It's only me." There was a voice of a female neighbor of mine. "I'm bringing you the mail I've been collecting for you. If it's inconvenient for you, I just put it down here on the doorstep." I remember thinking, enough's enough. Now I'll do it. The pressure had been there for a long time. So I said, "Oh no, do come in please," and opened the door. She was flabbergasted. What are you doing? Preparing for some masquerade or something? There she gave me a clue. If I had wanted to, I had the possibility to get out of it by just explaining it away. But no, I was decided to go the whole hog, so to speak. So I said, "Nope, I'm a transvestite." There it was, the word. She staggered a little, took hold of the doorpost and stared at me and said, "Well, I would never have thought that of you." I started to explain, but she was in a hurry, so she had to go away. We decided she'd come back in the afternoon, which she did, and we had a long talk. I remember her asking me, "Are you schizophrenic?" The oddest things can come to people's minds when they meet us. Well, I said, "Well, we have known each other for 20 years, and have you ever seen any signs of that?" Of course, we remain friends, and we still are. Well, next, there are some places in society, the semi-official places in society are troublesome when the coming out process, such as pharmacy, dentist, National Health Service, banks, even car inspection. Well, I've done all that now, but this is when I went to the dentist as Angelica for the first time. I've been going to the same dentist for more than 20 years. It's a man. I come there nervous. I remember how nervous I was. And I started by commenting on myself, which is, of course, a sign of nervousness. Well, "You have never seen me like this before?" Him? "No, I haven't. Where's the problem?" And he was certainly not referring to my teeth. And the only thing I could do was to point to my head and say, "The problem is in here," which is a great, I mean, it's part of the truth, a great part of the truth. So, and it was a case, we all know, people take much less notice of you than you think. We are not always focus of the universe. Well, it was a case of that. The first time I went to Copenhagen as Angelica after having coming out, it's important. It was only 1 month and a half after having come back from London. I was spoken to in the street by a young woman who tried to sell something, a wonder flower, whatever that is. And I said I wasn't interested, and she insisted, and so we had to talk for some minutes, and then eventually she gave it up. And then I asked if I could ask her a question, because I wanted to know, at that time, I want to have some feedback. How do people react when I am about? Oh, yes, please do. And I said, when did you read me? But she misunderstood my question and thought I was asking why she had picked me out for a victim among all the people in the street. And so she told me why, and I said, well, thank you, it's interesting. But what I really wanted to know is, when did you realize that I am a tranny? She looked at me and said, oh, are you? I didn't notice. What a triumph. I could even pass. I mean, not that passing is my main ambition, although it's flattering when it happens. It actually happened today during the luncheon break, well, once, yes. But what I tried to achieve is to be just one fellow human being in the great community of human beings, passing or not. I mean, if people say, oh, that's a tranny, and just stating a fact and not saying nasty things about me, it's totally okay. I just want to be everywhere without being molested, and it works. I mean, as a rule, it is like that. Nowadays, I'm a happy person, and my daughter is happy that I got this new life, new friends, and meaningful occupation as an activist for transgender community. My daughter means a lot to me. And so you can imagine the first time I met my daughter as Angelica was a very important moment. She knew I was transgendered. She hadn't seen me. She came to visit me. It was my birthday, yes. And she took place in another room. And I intended to impress her, dressed to the nines. I mean, looking back, I mean, I certainly overdid it a bit, but that's the way it is. And I put on an elegant black short evening dress with a wide skirt, bought in London, layers of lace, tulle, and taffeta. No shoulder straps. I know the tricks how to do that. and black high heels, of course, good hair, makeup. And then I entered the room where she was. Ta-da! She was stunned. She was really, really astonished and said, oh, you look gorgeous. I was happy. Yes. And she walked around me, looked at me from all sides, and asked, well, how did you achieve that, and how did you achieve that figure? And so we had girly talk for some minutes about these things. Yes. Me and my daughter, wonderful. She even asked, well, do you wear false eyelashes? No, I said, I use double extension. What's that? Don't you know? Come, I'll show you. And off to the bathroom and demonstrating how it works. And so she was enormously happy. And then she looked at things I got in my wardrobe, some dresses, shoes, what I got, and she liked it. And about some things she even said, why do they never have that in my size? I've been looking for just that. So I was still happier. And she said, you know, I don't at all feel strange about this. It's just fun. It's just you. I could have cried for joy, of course. My daughter accepted me as I was. Yes. And be who you are, whatever it is, because it takes all sorts to make up a world. I just happen to belong to one of the sorts, It's as simple as that. Thank you.